SCP-7005, The Lampeter. The following log is an encounter made by Dr. Harderpool while in Universe Q-865, Grasslands. Begin log. Dr. Harderpool is on a large open steppe. In front of her, a stable and small wooden structure can be seen. They are reminiscent of a 13th century Mongol yam station, a waypoint for messengers in the Mongol Empire where they could quickly exchange horses, allowing them to make long journeys in a very short amount of time. Around the buildings are several large rocks. Most have weathered carvings on them, which are largely unrecognizable. Some appear to have newer, albeit cruddier, designs, displaying a series of forking wires and pieces of string. Dr. Harderpool approaches the nearer building of the way station. "Hello?" Dr. Harderpool says. No movement comes from inside the building. Dr. Harderpool moves closer. "Hello? Is anyone there?" They won't come. Dr. Harderpool starts and turns around. She sees a man in his mid-40s dressed in furs, sitting by one of the rocks whittling a stick. This is POI number 7005-A. They're not there. They'll be back soon. You startled me. Come, sit. Are you the station master? Somewhere. Probably. I don't like cryptic answers. Yes, I didn't think you would. Foundation generally doesn't. Very well, my name is Rosie. Dr. Harderpool, nice to meet you. Why are you sitting by a rock in a multiversal yam station? It passes the time. Dr. Harderpool sighs. POI 7005-A laughs. I'm looking for information about the Neon God. Do you know anything about it? Oh, yes. But it really doesn't matter. Come, sit with me. Let's play a game of chance. Of chance? Yes. One of us tells a lie about our past, and the other tells what actually happened. How is that a game of chance? This is a station between realities. The fabric of things is different here. The right answer should be easier to guess. And how it is a game of chance, well, everything is happening somewhere, right? Right. It's all luck. There are an infinity of Dr. Harderpools, and an infinity of, with every choice or proto-choice, and every branching possibility creating new realities from there. But why are you? Why do you feel the sensation of this one Dr. Harderpool? POI 7005-A gestures wildly. The steppe exists as part of a cluster of universes where the Mongol Empire never ended, where the entire world became a dwelling place of nomads. Only a few are connected to Lampeter, but the universes are all there, behind one another. So many steppes, so many camps, so many yurts, choices upon choices, but each individual is still a person, whole, unique, made of blood and flesh and bone, and yet each one must exist, because all things exist. Why do you all keep trying to? Because talking about this thing passes the time up here. In the rigging, behind the scenes, each universe is so full of narratives and meanings and everything else that all we have to talk about up here is, well, how weird it is. Makes sense, no? Of a sort. Alright, I'll play your game of chance. Atta girl. Alright, I'll start. When I was a child, I learned to play the clarinet. Was that the truth? Dr. Harderpool stares at him for a moment. You learned to play the piano. A violin, actually, but you've got the idea. Okay, your turn. Okay. I've been divorced twice. Alright. POI 7005-A rubs his chin for a few seconds. Once, I think, 8 years ago, you were in a place called San Francisco. Dr. Harderpool leans back sharply. Porous walls in the universe can do that? Oh yes, come. You try me again. I was born in Idaho. No. You were born in a place like Idaho, that would become Idaho, but it was called... Yes, spot on. You're a natural. Thank you, but okay. If everything is a game of chance, what does that imply? About what? Well, everything. What is the meaning of life? Come on, we're not children. It's whatever you want it to be. You are who you are because of the luck of the draw. Relax. Enjoy yourself. Every good moment will pass eventually, so hold on to them while they last. That's only comforting to people who are experiencing good moments. Well, okay, fine, but what else is there? I met someone who lived on a mountain. He thought the entire point of being able to see the multiverse, to see every possibility, was to find God. But if he found God, another set of realities would be formed where you didn't find God. I don't follow. The multiverse isn't the end of the line, see? No? Look, the point is that, just as every decision in a universe creates a new universe, every decision in a multiverse creates a new multiverse. Once you break the barriers between time, it's just a universe on a bigger scale, which means its counterpoint has always existed, mirrors upon mirrors. That the logic there seems... What else could there be? Your neon god will cover the multiverse. The world will be as one. And then another multiverse will come to mirror it, where the neon god could never exist. It's very simple. Now, it's your turn. Alright. My sister is a marine biologist. No, that's not right. No. POI 7005 tilts his head on one side. No, the truth is that you left the city on a train when you were a girl. What? Dr. Harderpool stands up abruptly. She starts looking around, apparently in panic. What? What do you mean? How did you... Who the fuck are you? I told you already. No, that's not a name. That's a sound. The sound of, I don't know, film crackling. What the fuck is happening? Where am I? Dr. Harderpool starts backing away fast. POI 7005 continues to whittle his stick, slowly, while staring at her. You're backing away, Rosie Harderpool. That's where you are. You're backing away at the same time as you're playing another round, at the same time as this stick runs you through. Fuck. Dr. Harderpool runs to the stables and mounts a horse. POI 7005-A continues to whittle and stare. Dr. Harderpool rides away. End log. A report by Dr. Kells. The refugees have started to reach us. Or maybe we've just been able to spot them. Now we know what we're looking for. Now we know how to locate stories of cities in the middle of so much confusion. And once we began, there were so many. The anonymous ghoul described them as ironclad against the deprivations they have seen. I'm not so sure. I don't see people who have built defenses, but people who have put on masks, trying desperately to seem normal when nothing is. From what we have heard, the people who are infected by the cities become like manic, gibbering idiots. This doesn't seem quite right. It seems everyone is affected differently by them. Some become manic, some began to despair, and others become bright, strange fanatics, preaching gospels of urban planning and high-powered development schemes. There's no one reaction to the Neon God. It produces no patterns, no consistency, at least at first. Eventually, the same thing happened to all of them. At least 24 were too far gone to be saved. We've placed them in observation, but after a while, when all the rage and desperation was finished, there was nothing left to observe. They lie down on the floor and stare up at the ceiling, eating nothing, needing nothing, feeling nothing, as far as we can tell. It's like there's nothing left to move for, to get up for. Physically, we can find no problems with them. Mentally, they are whole and intact. There's no anomalous effect we can detect, just what we can observe, silent, bug-eyed, and beautiful. People keep trickling away from the research team. We've been working out of 2 buildings near Site 565, with a burnt-out skeleton crew trying to coordinate hundreds upon hundreds of way stations. It's not working. We need more funds, but the O5s keep diverting them away. What is happening up there? Don't they understand the importance of Lampeter? This is the principal organ of interdimensional travel, our only way of communicating with all that is beyond us. Yet, the Council seems more and more apathetic. Barely anyone bothered reading this page in months. It's just degenerating into Rosie and I writing down notes, interviews, reports. There's nothing systematic here at all. How can I make them understand? I could write reams about SCP-7005. I could use this space to map out the network, describe every scrap of its history we've managed to recover, detailing legends from old lines. The Golem's Cascade, the Corrales Incident, the Lamplight Prophecy. But I don't. I write down my impressions. I write down what seems important in the moment. I don't know what any of us are doing. The following is a letter discovered on a refugee from the Multiversal East. Although its authenticity has been established beyond a doubt, it is not known how this document fell into their possession, as they succumbed to the effects of the Neon God shortly afterward. To whomever it concerns, last night I dreamed I went home. No Lampeter has been home for centuries. We have told tales of it. We've carved murals into ceilings of our trains and trams, our ski lifts and saddlebags. They all show the same thing: grotesque men, the early members of our family, heaving and carving and building things that should not be built. I don't know what that world looked like, but I can guess. It was an Earth world, one of a standard pattern that was so common between our trains. It had a New York, a Tower of London, a red fort with all of its guarded ceremony. It had an Isfahan, stacked by the Hotski, like 1,000 others. It had green forests and Moroccan lamps, spires, symphonies, iron gates, and Wyoming nights. It had all the things I and others have seen so many times before. I've seen cousins of mine settle on such worlds, play acting what their presence, their past, might have looked like. I've seen them set themselves up as princes over their own fiefdom, but who was the first Lampeter? Was he a king? A rich man? Or was he a predator, a poor man who saw a way to make himself rich at the expense of his brethren? We all enjoy the fruits of his labor. The lines made us rich. We are prosperous, respected, loved. Tickets fly through our stations, building up our capital, making us unstoppable. Even the decay, the slow collapse of Lampeter has not done lasting damage. But I am the final Lampeter, the last one still holding on to our name. And I have found something far in the east. I found our home. I pinpointed in a derelict navigation room above a distant star the exact origin of the Lampeters. Surrounded by skeletons and burnished corpses, I retrieved the last fragment of a half-burnt computer from centuries ago, a thing of bronze and iron carved by the earliest grandchildren of our house. I found our home, and it was the first one, the very first one to succumb. The mythical Universe Z999 is the birthplace of the Neon God. And doesn't it all make so much sense? I saw images of it, grainy, pixelated things, continents covered in blue-gray cladding. I saw, in that moment, why all of it had come to pass, what the Lampeters were, how they had, in an ignorant desire for power, unleashed hell upon the multiverse. Because that's how it spreads. It must be. It spreads along Lampeter. Our networks and the Neon God are inextricably linked, because one is the pathway for the other. We did it. Our hubris, our desire for connection, for purpose, for more and more and more, for destruction of countless universes in the name of a single reality. Individuals living whole lives on our lines with no connection to land and time. We did this. We wanted a unity of all things, and we got one. A unity buried under a city of the night. The archives of Lampeter sit under a vast blue dome, stuffed with papers, documents, microfilms, hard drives. There is no backup. It exists in the one place it can, a pocket universe outside of time and space. I will go there tonight, and I will bring fire. I cannot destroy the line, but I can destroy us. I can destroy all that remains of us. Lampeter will burn bright as fuel, as the shining light in the multiversal sky, and every world that dies in the darkness can rest easy, safe in knowledge that their vengeance has been sealed. John Lampeter. The following is a log of an incident experienced by Dr. Harderpool in Z987, Lines End. Begin log. It is nighttime. Dr. Harderpool is in a train depot which belonged to the Elness before its dissolution. A fairly large bonfire can be seen 20 or 30 meters away. An indistinct figure can be seen behind it. It is wearing a pair of large sunglasses. Around Dr. Harderpool are a series of wrecked trains, apparently from multiple different eras of the 20th century. Some of them look unusually weathered, as if they have been gradually affected by varying climate conditions over the course of several centuries. Dr. Harderpool moves closer to the fire. Hello? Is someone there? POI 7005-B responds with, "Oh, hello. I'm so sorry. I wasn't expecting any visitors." "I wasn't really expecting to be here. What is this place?" "This? Oh, this is the depot, my dear. It is a place where old trains go to die when the lines don't need them anymore. You see this one?" POI 7005-B gestures to a carriage. This one was one of the first. It was launched from only the 5th universe the Lampeter had discovered. It's timeless and forever. "I can see. What a strange thing. We have trains like that on my own universe, but none that have grown so old that they look like that. What are those carvings on it?" "Oh, those. Aren't they beautiful? They're the Lampeter's own carvings. All the old ones have them. They tell a story of the first Lampeters, how they built a device to break through the walls of reality itself." Dr. Harderpool moves closer to the train and shines a light on it. A set of weathered carvings in metal of the train can be seen, apparently showing several men and women laying bricks on a huge wall. "Extraordinary. How did they do it?" "I don't know. I'm just a minister. It's not my place to describe the insight of the prophets." Dr. Harderpool turns back and looks at POI 7005-B. "Prophets? The Lampeters? Of course. They created the network. They allowed the Neon God to enter into everything." "The Neon God?" Dr. Harderpool slowly begins to edge away, while keeping her eyes trained on POI 7005-B. POI 7005-B laughs. "Yes, have you not heard of us, his church, his servants in these many worlds?" "You worship it?" "I do. I understand what he is, when so many others don't." "He? It seems to be an unstoppable force that turns worlds into cities." "Oh, but he's so much more than that. Come, sit by the fire. I'm not going to hurt you." Dr. Harderpool stops. After a moment, she approaches and sits across the fire from POI 7005-B. "All right, I've got nowhere else to go. I don't even know how to get home at this point." "You're from the west?" "The farthest west. A001. Although I think we changed that name when we took it over." "We? Do you have a foundation here?" "I don't know what that is. A foundation for what?" "Do you know?" "I actually don't know. Just the foundation, the SCP Foundation. If you're feeling formal, it's always been a bit vague." "Well, Foundation Girl, you're always welcome around my fire. It never stops burning. Did you know that?" "I didn't. I've been sitting here for so long, I've never known it to go out." "That must get annoying in summer." Yes, I suppose it must. Dr. Harderpool tilts her head quizzically. POI 7005-B smiles. So you want to know about our master? If he's not a virus, then what is he? He's our salvation. Do you know what a city is, Foundation? It's a conglomeration of people in a particular place. What happens when you start to specialize as a society? Go on. People come together because when you start farming, there's enough to go around so that not everyone needs to farm. So they can do their own things and often do them best in close contact. It starts with temples, barracks, warehouses, and then it gets bigger. Yes, it does. Factories, right? You can make things, so many more things, in the confines of vast buildings where everyone is concentrated together. No more cottage industries weaving carpets. Now, a single room can produce dozens, hundreds every day. The city becomes a focal point for production. Yes. And so it goes on. The city exists to justify itself. What does that mean? Why make these things? What's the end goal? Profit? That would be too easy. The strength of a nation? But the nation persists regardless. No, the city exists for its own sake, propagating itself as a system. The things we do, our reasons for getting up in the morning, they all just fall away. Don't you feel that? Not for a very long time. But you did, didn't you? We all did once. That's what cities do. When you realize there's no point to any of it, the ways they came to be matters less and less and less, until all you're left with is the image of a city. The roads are laid out for a reason. Old sheep trails, easy walking, but these stop mattering. You can't see them. See how the skyscrapers rise and they lose their function in your head? I don't. The city becomes something more than a function. It's an image. It's 1,000 ideas circling in it. It's alleyways where the poor live and die. It's broadways of thieves and merchants. It's too big. You can't see the logic anymore. Oh, books describe it, but you can't see it. You know it's a city built on a hill or a harbor, but when you look up, there's just more of it. Buildings, doing arcane jobs you don't understand. Nobody understands. It's just there. It's just more of itself. POI 7005-B stands up, spreading his arms wide. Oh, and isn't it beautiful? I used to be a pastor. I would lead flocks in worship of the Lord. But then the neon glare came to me, and I saw what I thought was reality. Just so many lights, so many sounds, and what beautiful lights they are. At this, lights corresponding to a city skyline light up all around the depot. A large series of skyscrapers can be seen fully illuminated. Dr. Harderpool abruptly gets to her feet, staggering backward. Oh God. Yes, this is one of his. He took this world long ago. We are so much blood and matter. POI 7005 removes his sunglasses. In place of his eyes are two fog lights coated in dried blood, which shine on the ground a short distance from Dr. Harderpool. Dr. Harderpool moves quickly behind the train where the lights cannot reach her. Oh God, oh. You are one of his too, Foundation. Go on. Go onwards, find him. Find the end of the line, and he will show you all he knows. Dr. Harderpool runs for the entry door to 7005, 100 meters to her right. As she does so, other sets of fog lights can be seen standing behind trains on top of warehouses and among the wrecks. They appear to be moving at random, but humanoid figures can dimly be made out, which they are attached to in the same manner as POI 7005-B. Dr. Harderpool reaches the door and swiftly exits. Laughter can be heard behind her. End log. The following log records an interview between Dr. Kells and 05-9. Begin log. Sir. Kells. Keeping well? I can't complain, sir. Family all right? Are they still alive? Still amnesticized and far beyond where I'll ever be able to see them again, sir. So, yes. 05-9 laughs. You really mustn't hold it against me. It had to be done. As you say, sir. 059 sighs and gestures to a chair opposite his desk. Okay, please take a seat. Dr. Kells sits down. 059 leans back, staring at the ceiling. Sir, I would like to know why, after 7 requests in the last month for an increase in funding and manpower, I have now been told that you are slashing our budget by 10%. A tenth, sir, on research into the most momentous discovery of our age. Kells, you are not the only department that needs funding. We have dozens, hundreds even, of potentially world-ending threats on the books. Research is an important part of the Foundation's MO, but containment remains our... Sir, with all due respect, Lampeter, SCP-7005, it contains an infinity of anomalies, all of whom could end us so many times over. It contains examples of how the Foundation, have defeated any threat you could think of. Sir, in theory, it contains everything. I've given my life to this organization. We have a tool here that can solve all of our problems, and you're just ignoring it, sir. I could have you killed in under a second, and you interrupt me? Are you going to kill me, sir? 05-9 stares at Dr. Kells for several more seconds before smiling at him. No, I'm not. And I think you knew that. Then will you tell, do you really think our council was wholly ignorant of the multiverses as you suggest? No, but Lampeter is not our only route out there, Kells. If you could see what I can of the archives, of the hundreds upon thousands of anomalies we have charted, Lampeter is nothing. It's just another route out. And is this why you deny us funding? I deny you funding because I just don't care, Kells. 059 sighs and sits up in his chair. Do you know how many of you I've seen? There's a Simon Kells who fought the Devourer and died. There's a Simon Kells who unleashed an ever-changing blizzard on the world, annihilating timeline upon timeline, forever, consistently, creating a whole reality that never existed. There's a Simon Kells who spent a century becoming a tyrant, locked in a forever war with an ancient monster, and a Simon Kells who killed himself so that would never happen. There's a Simon Kells who walked through the dead earth to see his wife, and a Simon Kells who snapped her neck. I've seen you burn in the half-light of a dying star to save all of humanity. I've seen so much of you, Kells, and you're still nothing more than a blip on the radar to me. How can that be true? How can you say all this, all of that? Matters? Don't you get it? It has to happen somewhere. Everything does. Don't you understand what Lampeter is, Kells? It's a mirror, for you and for me, to show us that we're nothing more than the luck of the draw. I give you money, I withdraw it. I go insane, I maintain my sanity. The agony of choice is no agony at all. 059 laughs hysterically. Kells gets up and heads for the door. And you'll go back to your office and sit there, staring at the screen, waiting for Rosie to send you more reports while you're stuck here, Kells. She'll send you more, and you'll reach for your bottle. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll die. Maybe you'll live. Maybe. Kells exits the room. End log. Final report from Dr. Harderpool. I write this from the last train out. I write this looking up at those murals carved on the train's ceiling as it blurs through ice, fire, jungles. I look up, and I think about my sister, about my world before she died. I arrived, at last, in Universe Z-999, largely because I didn't know where else to go. I emerged somewhere, the coast of South Africa, I think, but there, the city is even spreading along the water. There won't be much left of the ocean soon. There are no people now, not even the starers. The sun does not come up anymore. The water glistens black, and the corpses of fish rise to the surface, desperate, cloying, the scent of so many bodies washing up from them. I found the train line and headed south. The trains had adverts on them, with no words, only images that could never exist in that world anymore. They changed as I looked at them. I wondered why I had not been affected as the others were, and had no answer to give. The city burned. The city shone. Plumes of fire rose from factories that produced nothing. The cityscape looked like a microchip, strange buildings with no purpose rising and falling again and again. It had dinging alleyways and shining offices, industries in commotion, but no one lived in it. It couldn't figure out what to do with them. I arrived where Purant had been, where it had all began, if Titus Quaker is to be believed. I thought, at first, I was back at the train depot, with great husks of metal surrounding me. It looked like a scrap heap, a graveyard. I didn't even know where to look. And then I saw the neon lights. They were scattered around the station, twisted metal tubes glowing and flickering faintly. There were dozens of them. They were hanging from the roofs of the buildings, emerging from the tarmac on the roads. They clustered together, following lines and patterns. Skyscrapers littered the air around me, and I followed the lights inward. There were so many colors: red, blue, purple. But as I got closer and closer to some imagined center, they started to become white, yellow. Everything looked yellow in that light, that burning light. The streets wound large and small, twisting in unnatural directions. The suburbs were becoming a labyrinth. Finally, we stopped, and there, where it all had started, I saw the neon god. A wall, 100 feet high and 50 feet wide, jutted from the ground like a shard, a stalagmite of steel. No more sound could be heard, not even the wind, like it was straining to hear something. All around, the yellow lights were strewn, scorching patches of cement like a graveyard. The lights were bound to the wall, attached irregularly with metal and wire. They were arranged in rows and columns. I wasn't sure what it was. An attempt at art? A warning? But no, I realized, finally, that it was meant to be writing. It was meant to be a message. The lights were trying to spell out letters, but they didn't know what letters were, what a sentence was, what a word could mean. It was an uneven scrawl in symbols that did not exist. And all above us, no stars shone. There was nothing left, in that center of all that devastation, but these things, these yellow and staring lights, trying to be something and failing. Now, I'm here again, on another train heading out of the city, writing these words. Above me are images of men and women hammering and chiseling, carving out a hole in their universe, striking out into infinity. And it was while looking at these murals that something occurred to me. John Lampeter was wrong. Delacroix was wrong. The first Lampeters did not spread the neon god through their networks. That wasn't it at all. They were escaping it. Lampeter, SCP-7005. This entire endeavor, these centuries of construction, longing, dreaming. Lampeter, those lonely nights of station masters in ski lifts, volcanoes, stables, wishing wells, whatever else, as they stared up at the sky, at the stars that once, as children, they had thought promised infinity. All of them, driven by something more than mere flesh and matter. Lampeter is an escape route. It was built without hope, without design. It was built as an act of crazed desperation in the dark, as suffering tried to get away, get out, to remove themselves from the neon void that lay behind them. And in doing so, Lampeter has allowed billions upon billions to live their lives, entire histories, entire civilizations living and falling. Who cares about luck when there is life to be lived? There is no steel and glass here. It does not move with the winds. The murals are chiseled hard and firm into those forms themselves. Whatever luck or chance has influence on their design, in the enormity of all things, is irrelevant. The day we buried my sister, it was sunny, and I fled from the city. I took a train out, away from that day, as the sun burnt and the mourners swayed gently, where nothing made sense. I took a train out of the city, and I became Rosie Harderpool. Out among the autumn leaves, the apples I would eat, the auburn sun as it hit the grass, I took my chisels from my sleeping hands and carved murals into the air itself. I carved them into the metal and russet red, into the lines upon lines of train tracks. As I took myself away, and so I stood there before the neon in its yellow and blinkered heart, and saw it for what it was, not even nothing.